Hi, this is Donna with Donna's Design Threads, and today I'm going to show you how to properly apply borders to your quilt. I have this beautifully fresh pieced magic carpet, patterns available on my website, and it just needs its borders to finish it up. I have all of my strips cut and ready the width that I want them. First thing I'm going to do is cut all the selvages off. So I'll just do that for the first one. All right. Okay, we do one more, and then we're going to piece them all together. So after I have all the selvages cut off, I'm going to piece every one of my border pieces end to end. So before I do that, I'm going to sew them together on a diagonal line, much like you do a binding. So I'm going to lay this down. I'm going to have the seam go from here to here. How to draw that diagonal line. Have the border perpendicular to yourself. Line up this 45-degree angle with the edge of the border right into the corner. And with your marking pencil, just follow that. You're doing a 45-degree angle. Okay. So now we're at the machine. We're going to sew all of the border pieces together. So the first one that we didn't mark, just lay down in front of you, in front of the machine. Grab your first piece with the line that's drawn on it and lay it on top this way. Okay, and we're going to sew from here to here on that line that we marked. Okay, if we can get it straight, we will. Now, if you're doing a border with a print, of course, it's easy to tell what the right side and the wrong side is. If you're doing a solid border like this, you want to make sure that you're sewing the right sides together. So this is the right side actually underneath. So kind of take that and twist it and lay it down so you have the right side up. Take your next piece, and of course you've drawn these all on the wrong side. And again, take that piece, lay it on top. So you have this like L shape is how it looks, okay? Then you're again going to sew right on that line from the top corner. Watch it because it likes to flip up. Make sure that bottom corner is lined up with your line and just stitch right on the line. Okay, so one more time, make sure you flip the right side up. Grab your next piece. And this goes together really quickly. Lay that line on top. Start in the corner. And you're just chaining them together. You don't have to stop in between. Okay. And just sew right on the line. Easy to follow, right into the corner. Okay, so just keep doing that for all of the pieces, and then I'll show you what to do next. Just finished the last strip. So we'll take that off. And now you have all of these border pieces stripped together. And I just use my scissors. You can go to the rotary cutting mat if you want. But I just trim it off. Save these beautiful big triangles for another quilt someday. And then just snip your borders apart. Trim the next one. Get them too close. But see, this just kind of streamlines it. Get them all pieced together very quickly. Then we'll just go over to the iron and iron our seams to the side. And then we'll just have this big long piece to work with. So now we're just going to iron this big long strip that we've made. And iron out that little centerfold crease. And then when you get to the seam that you made, just press it to the one side. So you can see I just pressed it all to one side. See, lines up really nicely. Now we have all of our strips ironed, and we're going to measure through the center of our quilt. So this quilt, we're going to put the top to bottom borders on first, or whichever side I end up measuring actually, but you can pick which ones you want to do. So I fold the quilt center into fourths. Okay, so we'll do, it's going to be the sides, I think. So I'm going to measure right through the center, and I fold it in half, so remember I'm only getting a half measurement here, not the whole thing. So then I just come over to my cutting board and measure on here. So I've got 36, actually just a little bit more, so probably about a ½ inch. So 36 and a half. And then I always forget numbers, and so I write that down. 36 and a half. And then set that aside. I'm going to grab my borders that I've pieced together, and I've folded it with the two ends together. I'm going to take that to my board again. There's my 36 and my ½ inch. Okay, and I'm going to probably put a little mark there or a pin or something in case I lose it. I'll just put a little white mark with my marking pencil. Then I'm going to take this back over to the ironing board. Now I folded this back over. These are the two ends. Folding it back over on top of itself to this white, to the mark that I made. And then just kind of smooth it all out and line them all up. Okay, so got my mark in the middle. I'm going to just make a little press. That's going to be my halfway mark. And then down here, where this lines up, I'm just going to cut straight as possible. If you have a really big border, you're going to want to do that with the rotary cutter. If you have like, 7-inch border or bigger. So I put a little press mark here with my iron. And I'm going to take the first two layers and bring these two ends up to the middle. Another press mark. That's going to mark my quarter intervals. Turn that over. Fold this side up. This really saves a lot of, some people use pins, measure everything every time. This just really saves a lot of time. Again, make a little press mark there. Okay, so now you can see that I have two borders for the top and the bottom with a press there, a press there, and a press there. Okay, this is the edge that I measured and cut my borders for. So I'm just going to open that up. And again, I'm going to use my iron to mark those quarter places. So just lay it right in that quarter and the half. Okay. And then open that up. And make sure you lay down the right side. Okay. So here's the half. And now I am going to use some pins. Okay, so I'm going to stick a pin in the middle marking first. Then over to this side, the quarter marking. And then the end. So what you'll notice sometimes, especially depending on your piecing in the quilt, is that your outside edge might end up longer than your center measurement that we got. So your quilt might have a little bit of fullness in here. And so kind of the point of measuring your borders and doing it this way is to kind of pull it all back together and make it square. If you don't do that and you just sew a big long strip on, that's going to be even longer, and now you've got this outer border that's going to go like this. So it's really important to measure, mark, and pin your borders onto your quilt that match your center measurement. Kind of pulls it all back together. So again, mark your, or pin your quarter mark, and then that end. If you like pins and you're a big pinner, feel free to add more in there. But usually at the quarter mark, half mark, that's usually enough. Okay, then we'll go to the machine and stitch that together. So now we're going to stitch the border on at using a 1/4 inch seam allowance. And if you don't use a lot of pins, just go slow and make sure that those edges match up all the way down. You don't want a hole in your border. So I know when you sew all of your border pieces together, it seems like that's a lot to have to work with, but you're just working from the end of it. So it's not like you're having to deal with that whole big long strip all at one time. Just put those two ends together, measure and cut them. And you can straighten it back out when you get ready to go cut the other two borders. Thing for the other side. Take out my pins. Okay. And remember we're going to do the opposite side. So that's the side that we measured through the middle. So I have my other border here. So now we're going to just press these borders open towards, the outside, and I'm going to press the seam towards the border. So do that on both sides, and then we'll go measure it again. Now I have both of my borders ironed and folded the quilt into quarters again. So we're going to measure this side that has the borders, and it is 35 inches. So we're going to grab the border strip that we made, and that's not my marking pencil. Make a mark at 35. Bring that over to the iron, kind of folding it as I walk over there. Okay, so I have it folded right at that 35-inch mark that I made. Straightened it all out and press that halfway point there. Grab the two ends. Oh, let's see. First of all, let's cut it. Sorry. So I'm going to cut just straight as I can, not following that edge. Okay, cut that piece off. And then grab the two pieces and bring it up to the folded edge. That's press that. It's going to be our quarter mark. Then turn it over. Bring that edge up to the center and press another quarter mark there. And measure the edges that we're going to put this border on. Edge I'm going to sew. Fold that in half. Actually, I'm going to go ahead and fold it in quarters quicker. And press. So I've got my marks pressed. And take the first border. Right sides together and stick some pins there in the half mark and the quarter mark and the ends. We'll take this over to the machine and stitch it at a 1/4 inch seam allowance. And so now we're just going to sew both those borders on. Okay, so I have both the borders sewn on to the top and bottom now. I'm going to just press them with the seam again towards the border. Okay, and there we have all 4 borders sewn onto our magic carpet quilt. You can see the way it just gives it that nice finished look, and they're nice straight borders, and it's very beautiful. And remember to always be continuously creative.